Oil, oil, oil. Why the oil? Everyone goes on Chanuka about the oil, oil burned, the oil burned, everything's great. It is great. You know what's even better? Seemingly better? The war. A few measly poxy Jews, some kolelniks, a couple of Avrahim got up and beat an entire military force. That's a big deal. Oil burned, biggish, military, very big. How are we to understand why everyone goes on about oil, 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 the light, the light, the light? The Midrash in Bereshis Rabbah takes the pasuk from Bereshis which talks about 4 different stages, Tohu, Vavohu, Choshech, Al Pnei Tehom, and understands them to be corresponding to 4 different stages of Jewish history. Tohu is going to be referring to the Galus of Bavel, the exile of Bavel. Vavohu refers to the Galus of Madai. Choshech refers to the Galus of Yavan, the exile of Yavan, which was a strange exile because he didn't leave, he didn't go anywhere, but it was called a Galus of Yavan of Greece. And the words of the Midrash are, She'achshicha einehem shel Yisrael b'gzerosehem. Why is it called Choshech? Because they darkened the eyes of the Jewish people with their terrible decrees. The Jewish people, amongst other things, had to write, She'ein lachem chelek be'elokei Yisrael. Made the Jewish people write and say, you have no portion in God, you have no connection to God. Al Pnei Tehom, the final phrase, refers to Malchus HaRashah, the Romans, Edom. Finally, Baruch Elokim Arachefes Al Pnei Hamayim, the Spirit of God hovered over the water, is a reference to Rucha Shel Mashiach. Rucha Shel Melech Mashiach, says the Midrash. The Nesivos Shalom, the Shalom Rebbe, said about this idea that if you're to take the whole pasuk forward, you have to be to the end. It says, Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or. Vayehi Or, Hashem said, let there be light, and there was light. Meaning that if you're going to go through these different types of galus, these different kinds of types of exile, you have to understand that the answer, or the eitzah, the strategy to get through them is Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or, Vayehi Or. God said, let there be light. Something about the power of light can help triumph over all these different galuyos. Now there's a private Chanuka and a public Chanuka. There's private galus and public galus. Public galus is more famous for being our national status when we go to exile. The Jewish people either are not living in the land of Israel or are certainly being persecuted within the land of Israel, and that's a national crisis. But everyone goes in their life through individual crises. People have times in their life where things are not so connected to God. They don't feel so at home with what's going on. They feel very remote, very cast out, very exiled from their normal place of comfort. What is the eitzah, what is the strategy to deal with these events of life and to cope with all the different things that life throws at you? To understand that Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or, Vayehi Or, that when there is light, that's going to be the thing that smashes through all the difficult times that we have. That means that when a Jewish person feels connected to Hashem, that is the source of that person's light. So long as a person feels connected to Hashem, they can endure basically anything. And the Jewish people, unfortunately, throughout Jewish history, have had to endure pretty much everything. But feeling connected to God, that is the most important thing. The Greeks were very, very wise people in many ways. They had the Chochmas HaTumah. They understood what it was to disengage the Jewish people once and for all. And the way to do that wasn't even to physically murder them all. Like we see in the Purim story, the attempt was to annihilate them and to have some type of a Holocaust. But in the times of Yavam, it was much more sophisticated, if one could use such a word. To make us forget Torah, and to make us disconnect from the ways of God, as we say in Al-Anissim. That was their primary objective. So therefore, what was their main goal when they came to the Beis HaMikdash? They sullied all of the shmanim, all the oils. Why was sullying the oil their primary objective? Because they understood that the light, the Or HaMenorah, the light of the menorah itself wasn't just some candles that were alight, but rather, like everything in the Beis HaMikdash, it drew down a special power from above. The power that it drew down was the Jewish person's ability to be connected to God through that light. If that's the case, then the light of the menorah was the way or the source in which the Jewish people could connect to God at all times. Therefore, that is why we as Jewish people understand that the main miracle was the oil. It's not that it was necessarily more remarkable in its scale than a military defeat. Maybe the military defeat was more remarkable in its scale. But in terms of how we could continue as Jewish people, you're impressed by a military victory. But if you're disconnected from the Makor, from the source of all life, then you really don't stand a chance. Therefore, the finding of the unlikely finding of this small pot of oil, and how much more so the fact that the oil burned way beyond its time frame was an ability to demonstrate to the Jewish people that beyond human comprehension, and in miraculous terms, these things were being transpired in the area that connects to Jewish life and to Jewish light itself. That was the Jewish people's victory in Chanuka. The message that we take from this is not a historical one. The message we take from this is every person for themselves in their own lives. There are times in which our lives are not so happy. There are times in which our lives are filled with a certain amount of darkness. The way to find our way through that is first and foremost, bottom line, is to connect to Hashem's light. Remember that Hashem loves you. I'm with Jewish people whenever they're in difficult times. A person who remembers that can endure and survive anything. A person who forgets that is in big, big, big trouble. I think all of us in our own lives relate to this idea that even when you're making a big effort, particularly when you've made a big effort, and then you have some kind of nefila, some type of area in which you trip up and you lose something you were trying to keep, you were trying to do a certain avera or whatever it was, and you do it, you feel like the world's biggest idiot 1 second after the avera happens. The trick there is not to lose hope. If you lose hope and you say, I'm finished, then you're really finished. If you throw in the towel, as they say in boxing, then you're really in big trouble. The beauty of Chanuka is to remember that however small it might seem, that spark, that small flame, stays alight at all times. And it symbolizes for us the ultimate light that we can't always feel with our hands. It's not so tangible, but it's really the big light that connects us to Hashem. If we remember this message, please God, be Zoch already this year for Chanuka to see the Or Hashem Mashiach, the light of Mashiach, to help guide us through everything that we ever need to get through. Chanuka Sameach.